We just got to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and we are outside of Casa Rosada. We are just taking our first day of tours. We're walking around.
Finally outside.
Finally outside. We took a day and a half just to sit inside, do nothing, and make videos.
It's also pouring rain.
And she played video games. She played a lot of video games. It's been really productive. So, after viewing the big pink building, we hung out with our friends from Brazil that we met at the Airbnb, and we explored this small channel that runs right through the center of Buenos Aires, and there's a whole bunch of tall ships that they've turned into museums, and there's a beautiful bridge. Just learned the name of the bridge. This is called the Women's Bridge. Morgan just had her very first subway experience. Didn't get robbed. Woo! Right now we're walking around Buenos Aires looking for a boat ride over to Uruguay. And all the one-day tours are like anywhere from $70 to $80. That's a little bit too much money, so we might go to Uruguay. We might not, and just spend our money here in Buenos Aires.
This is our good friend.
Might take about the day.
This is Lucas.
You too.
Yeah.
We're gonna visit him in Germany.
Hello, all 10 subscribers. Uruguay turned out to be way too expensive. The amount of money that the ferry would cost versus how much time we would actually get to spend in Uruguay on the beaches wasn't worth it. So we decided to hang back and spend all of our money and our time in Buenos Aires. For the rest of the day, we wandered through the train station, which was beautiful, and we wandered around a nature preserve where Morgan found her true people, her real family, and hung out with all the birders with all our giant binoculars and telescopes. Once we moved from our Airbnb to a hostel, we met up with a whole bunch of other travelers. And it was a really hot day in Buenos Aires, so we all decided to go to a water park. Unfortunately, we never actually found an open water park. Instead, we went to an open air museum, which was a really big park that people could just walk through right on the river in Buenos Aires, a big river that runs out to the ocean. And this open air park had statues and like patterns in the grass all through it. And we just pretended that was our beach, or that was our water park, spread out our blankets, and just sunbathed the entire day. The water park was closed, so we went looking for a beach, and instead found an open air museum. And now everyone is just pretending that this open air museum is a beach. With this same group of friends, we also traveled to all the different big city parks. Among them was a Japanese garden that was really beautiful, had really nice water features and Japanese gates and a little 7-layer pagoda. Also, we tried to go to a famous cemetery that's right in the middle of Buenos Aires. Unfortunately, when we walked up, the gates were closed and camera crews were all videotaping because the day before a terrorist attack had attacked the cemetery. Apparently a lady was trying to bomb an old police officer to strike fear for the anarchists, and the only person she ended up hurting was herself because she blew up her own hand trying to do so. We never got into the cemetery, but we did get some really good photos from a church that overlooked the cemetery. New group of friends that we met at our traveling hostel, they like to party. All of them come to Buenos Aires because your dollar goes really far here, and they stay out late every night. One night, we started probably having fun, having drinks at around 12, 1 o'clock. And then we went out to a bar, and then went out to some clubs, and we went home early. Morgan and I went home early at around 4 o'clock. The rest of our friends stayed until sunrise. And then they did it again the next night. Yeah, if you continue to party like this, we would end up broke and sick because our bodies probably couldn't handle it. Once we had recovered from all these late nights and too many drinks, there was a pride parade. Morgan and I, we joined in the pride parade, which went down the central street right towards the mayor's office in Buenos Aires. Loud music with all these trucks and dancing people, and they had all these colors and glitter, and the vendors are allowed to sell alcohol right on the streets, so you have people with backpack coolers selling beers to everyone as they march down the street partying. One of the things I was really surprised about is once the parade was finished, the city cleaned up the mess extremely quickly. They had people on the streets picking up litter because they trashed the central street, but had it picked up by later that evening. The last thing we did in Buenos Aires is we took a tango class.
Here we are at this guy's house having a tango lesson.
The view is of all of Palermo and Buenos Aires. It's gorgeous.
There's the river. This is really crazy. We had to do tango at least once when we were in Buenos Aires, and we just booked a place last minute, and I think it's gonna work out.
Argentine tango is known for being one of the hardest dances because there's the most follower-leader feel in the dance. We took a class on the top of a 14-story building and had a great time. They just call it tango here, but the basic step has way more moves, and the amount of feel is a lot more difficult. This was a very good way to end our trip in Buenos Aires, and from now on, when we get to a new city, the first thing we're going to do is look for dance classes, not the very last thing we're going to do. The last thing I wanted to talk about is yerba mate tea. It is tea with just about as much caffeine as coffee, and you drink it by filling the glass completely with the tea leaves. Then you have a metal straw with a filter on the bottom that makes sure you don't actually drink the leaves, and you slowly fill and drink your glass of tea with hot water until all the flavor is gone. And this is usually a social thing where one person gets the cup of tea started, and then he fills it with hot water, hands it to somebody, they drink it, hand it back, he fills it again and hands it to the next person. A lot of people like this with sugar, and you see this everywhere where people are walking around with a small gourd of yerba mate tea with a metal straw, and they also have a thermos of hot water and sugar and more tea leaves, and they bring it to like a picnic or like a social gathering. And it's really tasty, and I've been drinking a lot of it. And this is not a traditional yerba mate gourd, but this is what I can afford, which is a glass that I'm borrowing from a friend. Cheers.